At the age of 24 years old, I own multiple businesses. I've worked for myself since I was 21, and I have basically financial freedom and independence. But it didn't always start out that way, and I certainly wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. It took years of hard work and dedication to get to where I'm at today. And throughout that process, I've developed 7 rules for myself that I've used to get to this point. In this video, I'm going to break down some of those rules, and hopefully you can apply it to your own life to get to where you need to be. If I go back 5-6 years ago, I was young, broke, lost. I had no clue where I was going to go in life. But I've had a very big change from where I used to be and where I'm at today, and it wasn't by accident. I call it intentional intentionality. I decided to turn my life around and build my life on my terms. It all started when I got my first sales job. I learned how to make money. I took that money, invested it in real estate, used that to buy businesses, and ultimately snowballed my life to where I used to be to where I'm at today. But none of that would have happened if I didn't stick to these 7 rules that I've developed along the way. So let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. The number 1 rule, and honestly, this is probably the most important rule: never, under any circumstance, take advice from somebody who has not accomplished the things you want to accomplish. You don't even have to watch the rest of this video. Honestly, if you do that, your life will be infinitely better off. It's unbelievable how many people take advice from friends or family about things that they've never accomplished in life. It's like asking a fat person how to lose weight, or asking a homeless person how to buy a house. I mean, it sounds ridiculous when I joke about it, but the reality is I hear an unbelievable amount of people that say, oh, well, I talked to my friends about this, or, well, I ran this idea by my parents and, they didn't see the idea. Unless your father's Elon Musk or your friends are, worth hundreds of millions, why on God's green earth would you run a business idea or run any of your goals by these people? I've made it my mission to only take advice from those I seriously respect. And the people I seriously respect are the people that have accomplished my goals to a huge degree. So for example, let's talk monetarily because it's easy to measure. If my goal was to make a few $1,000,000, I will only take financial advice from people that are worth tens of millions of dollars. I remember when I was 18 years old, I was working at a furniture store and I saved up enough money to buy my first house. I remember making a comment about how I was starting to look at houses, and this woman that I used to work with started giving me financial advice about how I wasn't able to buy a house because I needed to go get a car and finance it and keep that on my credit and this and that. And this is coming from a woman that was broke and had no money, nothing. Who is she in her right mind to give me financial advice? But unfortunately, so many people listen to friends and families that have accomplished nothing comparative to what you want to accomplish, and they take advice from those people. I mean, it's unbelievable. If you take the advice of average people, by definition, you're going to have an average life. If you want an extraordinary life, you have to limit the advice that you take, especially the stuff that you take action on, from the select few people that have actually accomplished the things that you want. I mean, it sounds trivial talking about this, but I had to make this the number 1 on this list because it hurts my brain. It really hurts my brain because the average person still succumbs to listening to the advice of just random people. I mean, it's I don't know. I don't know. It's ridiculous. The second thing, I don't know where I first heard this from, but I'm going to say it's done me a lot of good. If something takes less than 5 minutes to do it immediately. I don't question it. Sometimes I'll go to do something, or I'll hear that I have to do something, and then I'll put it off in my mind, and then I will remember the saying, if it takes less than 5 minutes to do it immediately, and then I'll get my ass up and go do it. I'm telling you, it really saves yourself from building a long list. There's a saying, when you have nothing to do and all day to do it, you procrastinate. And that's the reality. There's also the flip side of that. They say if you want something done, give it to a busy person. When you are busy and you have stuff to do, you're more productive, you get things done. So if something comes across your way and it'll take less than 5 minutes, just knock it out. Don't let that become another to-do item. Just knock it out, get it over with. There's only one circumstance, however, that this rule doesn't apply. If I'm doing deep work, if I have a long period, few hours that I blocked out for one particular task, I'm exclusively focused on that. I won't do anything else other than focus on that task. But other than deep work sessions, if I'm doing something and a small task pops up, it's infinitely easier for me to just knock it out than it just adding to my list of to-do lists, which is already daunting enough. Number 3, never finance a lifestyle. Full stop. I love debt. Don't get me wrong. But there is a difference between good debt and bad debt. To me, good debt is if it's financing a productive asset. So what does that mean? So for example, I'll take out $1 million, $2 million, $3 million to go buy a business because I know that the cash flow of that business is going to pay for the debt that I'm taking out to buy it. Or for example, real estate, like a rental property. Again, I don't mind taking out a mortgage because I know that mortgage is going to be paid for by the tenant, through the rental income. So certain things that are productive assets, an asset that produces something. So, a business or real estate or some type of investment that produces cash flow, a farm even. Something that produces, I'll gladly leverage it. I'll do a leverage buyout, take on some debt, and buy that business. It allows me to get great leverage returns. But that is completely different than buying a new car and financing it, or buying furniture and financing it, or buying new clothes and putting on like Klarna or something like the short-term payments or something like that. If something is a liability, if something is a lifestyle purchase, if something is not a productive asset, I limit myself to only being allowed to pay cash for it, because that forces you to live below your means, which is super important. In fact, I'd venture to say that the average person would be infinitely better off getting rid of all their credit cards. And that's the reality. Nobody's gotten rich from credit card points. Nobody. I don't care how many Graham Stephan videos you watch or whatever that may be. You're not going to get rich off credit card points. And the vast majority of people misuse credit cards. And just because the friction is so low to make a purchase, they overspend. So if you limit yourself to using a debit card or paying cash for something and not financing anything that's a lifestyle purchase, you'll save money. You'll be better off long term. Number 4, this needs no explanation, but it has to be said. Live below your means. I don't care how much money you make. I don't care how little money you make. You have to live below your means. If you only make money like a broke college student, I'm sorry, you have to live like a broke college student. Just take the opportunity to scroll on Reddit. Go to the personal finance or the poverty finance subreddits and just read how many stories of teenagers or kids in their 20s, even adults in their 30s and 40s that make $50,000 a year and somehow have $100,000 in credit card debt. Or how many people don't even have jobs and they somehow have $30,000 worth of credit card debt because they wanted to treat themselves and go on vacation or buy clothes or impress people they don't like. That's insanity. I'd rather eat rat poison than do that. It's unbelievable how many people live above their means. The average American has credit card debt. The average American is in debt because they spend more than they make. You have to live below your means. You cannot possibly think that you're going to build wealth or get anywhere in life if you're spending like commerce. You have to, by definition, live below your means, and that spread between the money you make and what you're spending, that spread, you invest that. And you invest that money to make more money. And you sit there and you compound that over 10, 20, 30 years, you'll be well off. Live below your means. I cannot say that enough. Number 5, continuous improvement. There's a cliche, you've all heard of it. Anything worth doing is worth doing badly. I implore anybody watching this video to go watch the very first video I recorded. Actually watch the first 5 videos I recorded. They were crap. They were unedited. Thumbnails were terrible. The audio was horrendous. They were embarrassing. But you know what? I'm going to keep them up on the channel just so you could see the delta between where I started and where I'm at. And that's the reality. Anything worth doing really is worth doing badly. The first business I ever acquired, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to manage people. I didn't know how to lead people. I made an unbelievable amount of mistakes. But you know what? You learn. That's the beautiful thing. Experience in life, it's cumulative. You continue to stack it. You continue to learn. You continue to grow. And at the end of the day, we're all going to die. In 100 years, nobody's going to remember any of this stuff. So if you're held back from fear of doing something, just start. Even if you're terrible, as long as you have an undying commitment to continuously improving, that's all that matters in life. It really is a fallacy that a lot of people think that rich and successful people are just talented and that they're just naturally better at things or they're gifted. The reality is that's not the case. It's just brute force, trial and error, and you force your way to learn and to get better. You fail your way to success. A really good example, I love actually watching old Alex Hormozi videos. If you go back to the very first videos he was making, they were only about how to grow and scale gyms. That's all he talked about. And then he was recording his videos from like a fucking closet or something like that. The videos were terrible, but you know what? He improved every week, every month, every year. His videos got better. Now, if you watch his latest videos, I mean, they're unrecognizable. And that's the case with everybody. I mean, YouTube, great example. Just watch people's first videos. They're terrible. A lot of people don't realize that. But as long as you just have this positive feedback loop of doing the action, gathering data, learning, improving, modifying your behavior, and just going in a circle, you'll get better over time. Whether it's business, whether it's personal finances, whether it's, whatever it may be, YouTube, as long as you get better, you'll be fine in the end. Number 6, and this is my personal favorite. What did you do today that scared you? If you do something every day that scares you, by definition, you will grow as a person. Everything you want in life is one step beyond your comfort zone. There's a really good book that I recommend everybody read. It's called Release Your Brakes by Jim Newman. It's basically like an owner's manual for the human body. And it talks about the comfort zone, and it talks about how people's behaviors are naturally governed by their comfort zone, right? If something seems nervous or scary or out of your comfort zone, your body naturally regulates you and keeps you inside the kangaroo pouch, so to speak. Nice, warm and fuzzy, and it keeps you away from any danger or anxiety. But in order to grow in life, you have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Again, this is a cliche, but it's true. You have to learn to grow and scare yourself. So, for example, making YouTube videos used to be something that was really uncomfortable for me. It's still awkward. It's still weird looking at a phone or a camera and recording into it. It's not normal to me, at least, but I do it anyway. I know I'm going to make an ass out of myself. I know I'm going to make videos that are shit sometimes. I know maybe I might make something that's cringe or something, or I might, stumble over my words. And when I look back at the video, I think, oh God, that was terrible. Who cares? You have to grow. I feel way more comfortable recording videos now than the very first few videos I watched, or recorded, I should say. So super important to do something that scares you. In business, especially if you're looking at buying a business, you better get used to this, because nobody prepares you to fire someone. Nobody prepares you to lead and manage a team. Nobody prepares you to scale a company. There are so many unknowns in life, especially unknowns that I was just forced to manage, baptism by fire, thrown in off the deep end. It's super uncomfortable. But you know what? At this point, it's like the only thing that turns me on is when I'm uncomfortable, when there's a risk of getting hurt, right? That's the stuff that's engaging for me at this point. But I've been in the game for a few years now, so that's not totally unexpected. Now, I know I said the first lesson was the most important. Arguably, number 7, this is actually probably the most important. The reason that I'm at where I'm at today, when I make a decision, I stick to it. That is rule number 7. When you make a decision, you are not allowed to undo it. Rich and successful people, they make decisions very quickly, and they rarely, if ever, change their mind. Versus poor people, unsuccessful people, take forever to make a decision. Then the moment they make a decision, they get insecure and they change their mind. So to give you an example, when I decided I wanted to buy companies, at the time I was invested in real estate and I was wholesaling appliances. I was 21 years old. I didn't know anything, but I had a desire to go and buy businesses. So I jumped off the deep end. I sold my real estate, I quit my job, and I announced, I'm going to buy a business. And I picked healthcare. I was living in Arizona. We have a huge senior population. So I thought, maybe I'll buy an assisted living facility. 24 months later, 2 years later, I finally bought an assisted living facility. I told myself, I don't care how painful it is. I don't care how humiliating it is. I don't care how wrong I was. I don't care whatsoever about how much I regret making the decision. I told myself this is what I had to do, so I had to do it. Under no circumstances was I allowed to do anything else. It was horrible. I hated that 24-month period. Everybody thought I was crazy. They thought I was stupid. They thought I was nuts. But you know what? Everybody thinks you're crazy until it works. And so I forced myself to get it done. And that's what I do now with anything. When I ultimately pivoted from assisted living, several months into running this business, even though I spent 2 years working on it, I said, I don't like assisted living. I'm going to pivot. But I still forced myself to get it done because I said I was going to do it. So then I decided home services. I now own a plumbing company. It took me about 9 months to buy my first company. Again, I told myself, this is what I'm going to do. Now I have to do it. I'm a man. I made my bed. Now I have to lie in it. as long as you pick something and you have the decisiveness to stick with it for the long term and endure long-range emotional pain, which is probably the single biggest indicator of you being able to succeed in life. It's not being able to, how many highs could I get? It's how many lows could I endure, right? It's that dip. If you're able to thrive and succeed and push forward when there's no motivation in your body to do it, I know somebody will be successful. So when you pick something, you have to stick with it. I'm telling you, the grass will always be greener. There will always be a million things that you could do to make money. But success in life is picking one thing and seeing it through to completion. I firmly believe that at this point. So, again, I'm 24 years old, on multiple businesses. I've worked for myself for the last 2 years, and I'm financially independent. I didn't get here by accident. These 7 rules that I just talked about have allowed me to get to this point. I think there's probably going to be an unfortunate number of people that watch this video. They hear the things that I just said and they think, I kind of already knew that, or, oh, that sounds too simple, or, oh, that's just cliches. But the reality is, in life, it's really just getting the basics done correctly. The further I get into business, the more I realize it's not that complex. It's getting the basics done correctly and actually doing it. I implore you, take an opportunity to review that list and think to yourself, what am I actually doing of this 7? What am I not doing? And take a serious look about modifying your behaviors. I'm telling you, you won't regret it. If you found this video helpful, please click here to watch more. I'm constantly making videos about business, sales, growth, whatever that may be. If you happen to have a business deal or a company you're looking at buying or want to run any ideas by me with a small select group of people, I do partner up with people and we'll work together. My contact information is in the video description. Don't hesitate to apply. But I appreciate you sticking with me. See you next time.